Nancy Pelosi is a woman of faith, a loving wife, a mother of 5, a grandmother of 9, a sophisticated strategist, a legendary legislator, a voice for the voiceless, a defender of the disenfranchised, a powerful, profound, prophetic, principled public servant, and that's why we stand squarely behind her today. Let me be clear, House Democrats are down with NDP. Nancy D'Alessandro Pelosi, the once and future Speaker of the United States House of Representatives, I proudly place her name in nomination. May God bless her. May God bless the United States of America.
Once again, welcome to the Left Shew Politics Podcast. I'm Michael Malloy.
And I'm Rick Shew.
I'm Jeremy Gruhlkey.
Okay, big show ahead of us here, guys. Obviously, a lot to talk about today. Let's definitely start with the biggest story of the day that we got. Right now, as we're recording, it's January 3rd. It's the evening of January 3rd. Nancy Pelosi has taken over the House of Representatives.
Yay!
Yay! Insert applause here. After a massive congressional electoral shift, Nancy Pelosi, the representative of the 12th District of California, has once again been selected as the Speaker of the House of the United States Congress. In her opening speech, she said, "They called upon the beauty of our Constitution, our system of checks and balances that protects our democracy, remembering that the legislative branch is Article 1, the first branch of government, co-equal to the president and judiciary," which definitely got an applause line. I thought interesting enough, too, that Pelosi, she evoked former President Ronald Reagan's final speech as president, where he emphasized the importance of open borders, saying, "If we ever close the door to new Americans, our leadership in the world would soon be lost." Rick, did you see the speech? Thoughts about Nancy Pelosi?
I have. Yes, I've been watching it, and I've been working all day and quite busy, but I've been watching it in bits and pieces on YouTube and elsewhere, and listening to it on MSNBC on the ride home, and it was quite glorious. Quite glorious to see her get that gavel back, to be honest with you, particularly for me, where I was skeptical of her getting it back. I thought maybe we needed new blood and new leadership in that role. And you know what? I am going to eat my words on that one. I am absolutely thrilled that she is once again Speaker of the House.
Agreed.
Wrong again,
Jeremy,
Rick. Wrong again.
Have you? That's what I was getting. Have you warmed up to the idea, Jeremy, to the idea of Nancy Pelosi coming in?
Yeah, I was. I sort of thought a little bit like Rick did earlier, and my wife and I have had debates about this as well, about maybe needing new leadership and new people in those roles. But I think the experience and the competency that Nancy Pelosi brings is just completely invaluable. And I think what she can do to keep both the old timers and the newcomers sort of in line and working together and moving in the same direction, I think it's just going to be very impressive to watch. She's already done a whole ton of it, just getting back to the gavel. Back to the gavel. It sounds like a bad John Grisham novel, but she's she had to negotiate and compromise and work with both parties and the different sects and get everybody on the same page. And she managed to pull together 220 votes and regain the speakership.
Yeah. I think that maybe before, if anyone doesn't know listening, and maybe you had felt the same way, I think that we were feeling like a lot like the rest of the progressives, that I just couldn't quite warm up because, there's still the side of me that says, like, what are these people still doing there? Been like in Congress for 30 years,
right?
And it's, obviously we're going to agree with her agenda and things, but there's also other issues of, it's time maybe for fresh blood. But I think maybe where I switched, you can let me know if you feel different, was when she was in the Oval Office, they were talking to Trump. And I thought, like, wow, she was really commanding. I'm talking about when she was in the Oval Office talking to him, when they were first having the conversation about not shutting down the government and how she pushed back against him. But I was like, yeah, okay, maybe I hadn't watched her enough, and I was like, I think I am warming up. But Rick, do you have the same feeling?
Yeah, when you're really for term limits, right? And then you're trying to make yourself excited about Nancy Pelosi being Speaker of the House again, it's kind of hard to reconcile those two things. But at the end of the day, what we need right now is we need leadership. We need experience. Also to juxtapose with the most inexperienced buffoon that's ever been in the White House. And it was never more crystallized than him sitting there with Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi. And you're going, could you be a bigger jackass? Oh my gosh. And in front of these people. And so at the end of the day, do I still want term limits? Do I still think that Nancy Pelosi probably shouldn't even be there? Yes, but she's there. And so while she's there, let's use her, and we need her. And that's the bottom line.
You're right. And that's what served to her benefit. I think that probably what it was is that he is such a jackass, and that anybody who's competent speaking next to Donald Trump, it really makes you shine. I mean, like, I'm not like a crazy Schumer fan, but I was really thinking, like, they both walked out of that meeting. I'm like, wow, there's my buddy Chuck Schumer. I was like a lot more on board. But either way, I mean, I don't know what's happened. There's definitely been a shift in me, and I think even like starting today, I'm like, damn it, I think I'm finally excited about Nancy Pelosi being in there. I'm excited about the whole thing happening, but maybe it was just a lot of hemming and hawing, and it'll all work itself out, because I think there is going to be a lot of unity, like amongst the Democrats.
Yeah, I think so too. And so far, what I really appreciate, and I think this is showing Nancy Pelosi's leadership, already, is that everybody that I've seen talking about retaking the House and retaking the majority, they're being asked about impeachment, and every one of them, almost to a T, is giving the exact same answer, which is, like, we shouldn't be thinking about impeachment now. We'll think about that with the results of the Mueller investigation. And not until that comes out.
Everybody's on the same page.
Yeah, whereas everybody before was like, they're campaigning on impeachment, and as soon as we get there, and it was a big deal, and it was a big rah-rah thing, and now they're saying the right things. And I think that, behind the scenes, we probably have to give a lot of credit to Nancy Pelosi for getting everybody on the same board, or on the same page, and giving that same message, because it's the right message to be giving.
It is the right message to be given, and there's still actually an 800-pound gorilla in the room that we haven't brought up yet, and that's the fact that she is taking that gavel in the midst of a government shutdown. And so how she navigates this in the next few weeks, and how do you move an immovable object like Trump? Because, and we're jumping into this right now with this government shutdown, so forgive me, but it's a big deal, and he wants his border wall. He had an agreement. Ann Coulter insulted him, and Fox News did, and he flipped out. What my worry is this: he's not a good negotiator. Absolutely not. It's ridiculous to even suggest that. But he has zero empathy. He could care less about these government workers that don't get their paychecks. He could care less about any of those people. And so when you have that sort of mentality, and then you want your wall, and you know that your base wants you to get that wall, maybe you keep the government shut for as long as possible. Well, I
mean, yeah, but he looks at it as that's the only thing keeping him in power, right? It is,
and that's what's scary. So how does she handle that?
Well, I don't know.
Go ahead, Jeremy. I don't
either.
I think that she's. I think that she just knows. I think she just pushes for. She's like been through this enough times. It is a little bit ridiculous that we're, as we're navigating that the idea is like who's going to come out ahead, but I think that she just she's got a couple of things. She'll try to push through something similar to what the Republicans tried to push through, like from the Senate just a couple of weeks ago, and then they're going to have to defend like how they, why in the world they can't pass it now just because the president won't. But
yeah,
I don't think, Jeremy.
I don't know if either of you saw the press conference where they came out early, Pelosi, and she's actually doing exactly that, Michael. She's, they are voting tonight. They're going to send right back to the Senate the exact same bill, the exact same wording that the Senate passed almost unanimously less than a week ago, and make them either vote on it or explain why they're now not going to even bring up for a vote the exact same bill that they all voted for just a week ago. And so I think she's already handling that in the best possible way. And the second thing is that there is no winning with Donald Trump. I mean, there's not any world where Donald Trump is going to turn around and be like, oh, well, I give up and, I'll cave.
Yeah, he's not susceptible to the same normal political pressures of like normal media.
Yeah, absolutely.
All he cares about is what right-wing media says. Right-wing media says stick with it, he'll stick with it.
And he doesn't have to win. All he has to do is declare victory no matter what happens. It's not the same thing as where you actually have to have something to show for it. There are jokes on Twitter and all of that about where, a week away from the wall is already there and it's invisible. But that's exactly where he's going. No matter what happens at the end of this shutdown, Trump is going to declare victory, and his base is going to accept that as a victory. Now, will it shrink his base a little bit when some of them are intelligent enough to recognize that they didn't actually get anything, because they're not going to get anything. But again, he doesn't have to win. He just has to declare victory. He doesn't care about winning. He just cares about saying he wants.
Yeah, if you have the perfect liberty where you could just make up anything that you want, you can actually say that you got concessions and they are building the wall right now because, I mean, he has done this. He has stated, I mean, we don't have to go into his lies, but I mean, he's told a crowd recently that like, yeah, I already got them negotiated. You should see the wall and everything that we're building. Like, he could just declare victory and lie and they would be fine with it. I should have been able to cite it, but I read sometime in the past week that I guess in the last budget for border security, there actually is about $1.5 billion just for obviously the entire southern border to build up some fencing in some places, and that's what you'll see on camera, on TV, where it like actually like makes sense. And they think like maybe that's what he'll claim victory because he can show a couple pictures of like this already existing fence or this thing that was already gonna be built and say, look, I already built me a wall. But I don't know. He's got it. How long does this go on? Like, we can wrap this up with answer this. How long does it go on? What do you think?
I think it goes on for another 3 or 4 weeks. I really do. I think this is going to get drug on for like a month.
Man, what I'm concerned about, I've thought about that too. You know what I'm a little bit concerned about is how long until the media really makes that big shift where like right now it's all on Trump. For like, what was this on, try to think about it. So Trump on December 11th, let's actually bring up a quote here. Remember when Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi are sitting in the Oval Office and Trump says, I can't do a Trump impression, so I'm not going to do it. I am proud to shut down the government for border security, Chuck. I will take the mantle. I will be the one to shut it down. I'm not going to blame you for it. Now, right?
Yes, but in that same, I know what you're going to say, and I know everybody knows what you're going to say. Here's the problem with that, though, is that the Trump space doesn't care because all he has to say is,
I know. They don't care.
And Pelosi challenged him to put it let the House vote on it, and you don't have the votes in the House, and then they did, and they passed it. So see, now we did our part, now you have to do your part. So it's all nonsense.
Well, I think it's but that is absolutely true, and I don't think there's any peeling off like a large segment like of those people, but. At the end of the day, this really does impact the economy and it does like impact people. This morning on Today, they were interviewing this couple. They were somewhere in Nevada and this couple was like a couple of Trump supporters. Oh God, this drove me absolutely nuts. And so they're both federal employees also, and here's exactly what the husband said. And they were like, they were doing like the kitchen interview and he said, I'm paraphrasing here. It's like, normally I'm in complete support of this, but now like it's like impacting me and I don't know if I'm completely behind it right now. I mean, like this is costing me money. And I'm like, God, isn't that just absolute like modern American conservatism right now? I don't care about all this stuff. Do all the crazy things, disrupt anyone's lives, but oh my God,
as long as it doesn't affect me.
Yeah. Yeah, and Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer better get it open because it's affecting me. That's what we go round and round with this. But here, at the end of the day, right, we now have checks and balances. We have a actual branch of government. We have oversight. We have subpoena power. Let's roll up our sleeves, guys, because, the shutdown sucks. I don't like it. I don't like knowing that workers, I don't care who they voted for, and they have kids and they have to put food on the table. I don't like that people are hurting over this. I hope it gets resolved. We're not going to build that damn wall. Here's the deal. Tell me if you guys agree with this. Even if, let's just say that they caved and gave him his $5.6 billion, there's no way that wall is getting built.
There's no wall. It's almost no wall at all.
It's not going to happen. Right. So
with the eminent domain, absolutely not. It would go on for years. In fact, I almost thought that was one thing I thought, like, let's see if we can get a huge concession from him and give him his $5 billion because you know how much of that wall will be built? Maybe 1%. And then later on, you just cancel the damn thing because the eminent domain. This could last for a decade. The whole thing is bullshit.
They already tried that. They tried to negotiate with him before. There was, a year, maybe a little over that. There was a bill that gave Trump funding for the wall. And included DACA. And he said, this is what I want. This is what I'm going to do. And then he backed out of it. So he had funding. All he had to do was DACA and or the Dreamers. And he decided he didn't want to do that. So he threw the funding away himself. And now ultimately we already have a bunch of Republicans in Congress, especially in the Senate, who are saying, this is where we're headed. We're going to try and suggest that we do the DACA thing. and in exchange for the funding. I don't know if Nancy Pelosi in the House will be up for that. I don't want them to be up for that. But I don't think that the shutdowns, I mean, I'd say the over-under on the shutdown is 10 or 12 days, but I wouldn't be surprised if it goes 2 weeks or 3 weeks. But I think most of the pressure is going to be on the Senate Republican.
Well, if the media, that's what I was thinking, is if the media narrative like shifts over to saying, you know, that it's both sides and both sides need to come together like to make a deal, I think that's going to be the problem, because the media can completely like upend this and act like, well, it's because they're both butting heads, and it's not because this is all Trump.
Right, but at the end of the day, the House is going to be passing actual legislation, and the Senate is going to be refusing to vote on it.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully there's enough people that are paying attention that could see it, and that, you know, it's able to steal like enough of the news cycle. But then again, here in this modern age, I have no idea ever about like what's going to happen, seeing that we live like in absolute crazy world. One more thing on, I pulled it, and one of the things I thought about maybe we'd talk about here is I'm like, oh great, Nancy Pelosi's there. We're finally going to have government oversight, and let's think of like maybe the couple of scandals that really needed it. I pulled just a short list, and holy shit, you have like Google sometime Trump scandals, like a list of them, and I couldn't read them all off to you, right? This would take up like 15 minutes to go through, but I like just to remind you of a couple. Obviously, the biggest would be the Russian interference in the 2016 election. That's sort of like a big thing. Trump's family business relationship with the Saudi royal family. These are things the Republicans absolutely refuse to show any sort of oversight over. Separation policy at the border. Let me think of just anything. Oh, Matt Whitaker is the acting attorney general of the United States. Are you kidding me? Like, this is a guy that was involved like in a scam that may be under criminal investigation right now. Like, all these things, they're all about to happen because no longer do we have just that united government of the Republicans.
Also, the nepotism that's running amok. That's another thing that they're going to be looking at. They're also going to be looking at tax returns. It's the tax. I mean, that's maybe like the thing I'm most excited for. Like, just give me those tax returns.
I
think Bob Mueller has them.
Of course he does. Of course he does. We just.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say of course he does. I just think he does. I mean, he may not, but
there's no way he doesn't have the tax returns right now. There's just absolutely no.
He has them. I was talking to Mueller at Starbucks earlier.
Good.
Were you and what does Jacob Wohl call that? Were you one of those hipster?
Yeah, I was one of those Starbucks hipster guys.
Yeah, right.
What the hell are you guys talking about?
Nah, never mind. So the Jacob Wohl, you know that little worm that's on Twitter, and his dad's an attorney, and they're all friends with Trump. He was the one that was trying to set up Bob Mueller with a sex scandal. No, never mind.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. I'm sorry.
He's like 12 years old.
He's always put it on Twitter, like, I was in this hipster coffee shop and overheard hipsters talking about how they secretly appreciate Trump. I mean, he's ridiculous.
Yeah, it definitely happened. I mean, totally plausible in the conservative, conspiracy theory world.
Yeah. And that's what the three of us do. When we were all together in LA a few months ago, we all sat around talking about how we secretly like Trump. This was all just a facade, right?
Yeah, I know, because we're all part of the deep state. I can't tell you how many times they've accused me, like anywhere on social media, that you guys are obviously the deep state. I'm like, yeah, we sure are.
Yeah, part of the deep state, anonymous. That's why we go out of our way to like, we are not an anonymous handle. we have a freaking podcast with like, here's my LinkedIn link. What do you want from me?
Yeah, no. Anyway, I can hear your Russian accent. Anyway, okay, moving on. All right. Next topic that I wanted to bring up, we'll just talk about this briefly, but did you all see it? So Mitt Romney, did you see, obviously he had an op-ed in the Washington Post. You guys see that?
May I go first on this one?
Absolutely.
Let me throw the context real quick.
Okay, please do. I was just getting ahead of Jeremy because he and I are...
Well, it's just easier to eviscerate your argument if it's already stated.
Yeah. You want to hear his first. Okay. So anyone who doesn't know, January 1st, which is 2 days before like this actual recording, freshman senator from Utah, former presidential candidate Mitt Romney, wrote an op-ed in the Washington Post. It was entitled, "The President Shapes the Public Character of the Nation. Trump's Character Falls Short." One quote also that I pulled out of there. The Trump presidency made a deep descent in December. The departures of Defense Secretary Jim Mattis and White House Chief of Staff John F. Kelly, the appointment of senior persons of lesser experience, the abandonment of allies who fight beside us, and the president's thoughtless claim that America has long been a sucker, quote unquote, in world affairs all defined his presidency down. Goes on to comment how this is, hurting the U.S. overseas and favoring our adversaries like China and Russia, corrupt and autocratic regimes. Jeremy, reaction to the former presidential candidate's
Not
comments.
fair. Not fair.
No,
I'm
going to defer my time to
Rick Shew. Will you please comment on Willard Mitt Romney's op-ed in the Washington Post, the noble Mitt Romney? Please go ahead.
For those of you who may be listening for the first time, the three gentlemen you're hearing talking, we are Left Shoe Politics. There's no guest here, and so any Facebook post or Twitter tweet or what have you is one of the three of us. I got to social media first in my opinion on the Mitt Romney thing, which is why I believe it's my I earned to go first on this. Okay, so here we go. First of all, I'm not suggesting when I compliment him for this op-ed that I absolutely loved. I'm not suggesting that suddenly Mitt Romney is going to be this ambassador of goodwill. I'm not suggesting that he's not going to just not empower Trump by voting for certain things that Trump is going to be wanting him to vote for. Of course he is, especially judges and anything that has to do with taxes, right? It's a Republican platform that, these senators are not going to not vote. The Jeff Flakes of the world, those guys were on their way out when they finally decided to start getting honest about Trump and his behavior and unethical fuckery, okay? The difference in this is that Mitt Romney, before he was even sworn in, before he goes to Washington, because he's now a senator from Utah, writes an op-ed bashing the president of his own party before he gets sworn in, okay? There's something about that that's very significant to me.
Well, he's also looking at 6 years. I mean, I'm not...
Hold on, you're stealing my argument. Shut up. Let Rick talk.
Hold on, no. I understand. But listen, I understand you could say he did this here and this there, and people... I don't care what Max Boot has to say, or I don't care what Bill Kristol has to say. They help create this mess. I am just not of that opinion. My disdain for Trump is so like white-hot intensity of 1,000 suns. Anybody, I don't care who you are, you can be the aforementioned Jacob Wall and suddenly have an epiphany tomorrow and want to be against Trump, and I will welcome you into the fold. We can sort out our differences after this malignant orange tumor has left the White House. If you want to attack him, come on in. We have a big tent. Let's do this together, and then again we can sort out our differences out afterwards. Right. That's why I applauded that op-ed. That's why I put it on our Facebook page, and I initialed it so people knew it was me because I figured we were going to have a difference of opinion about this. I'm not saying that he's going to save the world, but it's commendable.
Okay, all right. We got you. I have a different opinion. Let me go to Jeremy first, though, and then I'll back him up as we dig into you. Go ahead.
It's not commendable, and it's not significant for a variety of reasons. First off, he's not bringing himself into our tent. He's just not. He's not in any way entering an opposed Trump tent. He's not doing anything different than every other Republican in Congress is currently doing, which is to basically say, listen, I'm going to say when I think the president is wrong, and when the president is right, and I think he is right, I'm going to find ways to cooperate with him, which, by the way, is going to be always. So just the bringing us into the tent thing, it's nonsense. Secondly, he's not risking even as much as Jeff Flake did. Okay, Jeff Flake was not on his way out when he started speaking up. Jeff Flake started
very
speaking
popular
up.
Senator.
Yeah, Jeff Flake started speaking up, and then he got primaried, right? And he lost. Okay, so to say that he's doing something that even Jeff Flake didn't do is incorrect. Thirdly, Mitt Romney is probably the most popular man in all of Utah. Mitt Romney could say whatever he wants about whoever he wants for as long as he wants. He's not ever going to lose an election. He is risking absolutely nothing. And then finally,
62% of, by the way, on that point, 62% of the electorate in Utah, the Republicans actually said that they felt it was his obligation to be a check on President Trump. He's going in there with some kind of mandate.
And I just want everybody to know that's listening that I'm biting my tongue.
Hold on. And finally, everybody loves a flip-flopper when he flops to your side. And this is just like Romney's at least sixth flop on this exact same issue, okay? Romney was begging. Yes, it is. Hold on. Let me walk through them for you. Romney was begging for Trump's endorsement in 2012, and he got it. He was nonstop bragging about Trump while Trump was pushing the insane birther conspiracy. Romney even made jokes about the birther conspiracy himself. Nobody has to ask me or my wife where we were born. That's what he said. All right. So then after he loses that and then come up in 2016, he suddenly decides, I'm going to tell the world what an awful person Donald Trump is. Right. But then the day after the election, He's walking right into the White House or walking right into Trump Tower to have dinner with Trump and begging to be Secretary of State.
That was really pathetic.
Yeah, it was really horribly pathetic.
We don't know if that's accurate.
Oh, that is 100% accurate. All of the reporting on the you can't, hold on. All of the reporting on the subject says that true.
And listen,
regardless, I'm not done. I'm not done. I didn't speak while you were speaking.
Ooh.
So, then come around to 2018. And
liberals go after each other too.
Romney is again begging for Trump's endorsement in his election, right?
Right.
So, and then he gets elected, and now, oh, you know what? It's going to be beneficial to me to stand out if I say these things about Trump. But every single vote that comes down the line is going to be in line with Trump's agenda. And resist Trump and oppose Trump cannot be a part-time job. It can't be, sometimes I'm going to say this and sometimes I'm not. Every single person who is wanting to be all hands on deck and claiming that President Trump is not fit for the office has to be in 100% opposition of everything that Trump does all the time, or it doesn't count. Period.
Okay, so it's an all or nothing kind of thing. This is where I see this very differently. I would like to go back and push on some of those things that you stated that I don't think are quite 100% factually accurate. Not accusing you, obviously, of lying. I just think that you're off base on a couple of those things, but there's no need to get into the weeds on some of this stuff. Let me just say this. Today, he gets interviewed, and they ask him about this. And I watched him very closely, and I said, if he backtracks on this right now, I'm going to be really pissed, because I found it commendable.
He's got 6 years. He doesn't need to backtrack.
He's got as many years as he wants.
I thought we weren't interrupting here, guys.
No, we are.
But here's what I admired about what he said today. He is when Trump does and went down the list and started talking about Charlottesville, started talking about Vladimir Putin, started talking about all these Putin, all these things that Putin, all these things that he started going down the list of these atrocious things that Trump has said and done, and said when he does those things, I'm going to stand against him. And there were like 4 or 5 of them. They were all things that we all agree on. And then he said, you know, judges and things like that, we'll find a way to compromise. I liked, if you watch that, you think he didn't really list one thing that he said about him that was even decent. He went down and actually got very specific. And I love that he went to Charlottesville, because I actually find that to be his most despicable hour.
Fair enough. All right, look.
And again, I'm not saying he's a savior, guys.
In agreement.
And by the way, one last thing. Tent. When I say tent, I don't mean he's coming into our tent of like he's the resistance. What I'm saying is, if we're going to stand up and just at least be vocal, can we get people that just at least will stand up and basically say what a piece of garbage this person is? It
doesn't matter if you say it unless you actively take steps to obstruct and deny and remove. Otherwise, it's just lip service. It's bullshit.
It's you can call it that all you want. It's important that gets out there, because you don't have people from former presidents and people in their own party that have come out and said things like that about. That's significant.
Fair enough. And we'll see what he does.
Every little bit counts. I'm not saying he's going to help change this for us necessarily, but it's just one of those things where I will take it. I will take Bill Kristol. I'll take Max Boot. I'll take all these guys. And again, I have a lot of issues with a lot of them. And yes, in a lot of ways, those guys are also helped us get Trump. I also recognize that. But at this point in time, it's so bad.
But conservative commentators and politicians, I don't think of this. I mean, like people actually in elected office, because the ones in elected office are the ones that can do something about this, right? The conservative commentators that somehow opted out of the Trump cult, I even maybe give them a little bit more credit, because they have to make a living of throwing red meat over to the conservative base, and they're like, no, I just cannot do it. But I agree. We need to wait and see what he does. But to be honest with you, the reason why I have no faith in him at all is because I've seen Bob Corker, I've seen Ben Sass, I've seen Jeff Flake, right? All of them give all this lip service and actually have the nerve to tell the truth. And what do they do to put a stop to it? Nothing.
He's going to be just like Lindsey Graham. He's going to be just like Lindsey Graham.
Well, Lindsey Graham's a whole different ball of wax.
What's going on with that?
That's a whole different ball of wax. But listen, let me put it in perspective like this. And Jeremy, to give you credit, you came a little bit more prepared for this debate than I did. I didn't think we were going to get this much into it because
that all came off the top of my head.
I
brother.
really wish that you had.
I didn't know prep work actually.
I really wish. What I'm saying is that I wish that I had the full quote, and I'm not going to bother looking it up live here because we are live here, ladies and gentlemen. But I would encourage everybody to go and watch his not interview, but when press talked to him today and how he listed things specifically. And that's what I mean by prepared. I wish I could just tell you all of them. In that moment, hold on, let me say this. In that moment, he has said more things about Trump's character.
I don't care.
Than he has.
Yeah.
I don't care.
No
Then he has Obama, who he was running against and trying to unseat and become president of the United States.
I don't care. I don't care what he says. I care what he does. And if he really means what he says, then he should stand up and say, if the House impeaches, I will vote to convict.
He's not going to say that.
That's because he's a piece of shit. If he really means what he says.
He's not a piece of shit. He's not going to say, first of all,
he's a flip-flopping, out of convenience, I'll say what I want right now. He's the guy, hold on. He's the guy who flip-flopped on his own healthcare plan.
I get it. At the top of this show, you said that the message that Pelosi is sending out right now, that we're not talking about impeachment, we're going to wait till the Mueller report comes back and we'll analyze it then. You applauded that. Then in the same show, you want to say, you want Romney to go out and say, I will vote for impeachment.
Yeah, I want him to say Trump needs to be removed from office.
So you want him to say stuff that's even more intense than what
No, I don't.
Pelosi is saying?
No, I don't.
That makes no sense.
No, I don't. Everybody on the left says Trump needs to be removed from office. I want Romney to say the same thing, whether it's about impeachment or not.
They don't say that.
They absolutely do. There are dozens and dozens of them all day, every day.
But they don't even say that. You even said you don't want Pelosi saying.
I don't want them talking about impeachment on TV. That's different than knowing that they say Trump should be removed from office. That's different.
All right. Bottom line is this. I find it commendable, okay? If he tomorrow, with every news show he goes on and whatever, ends up backtracking and quasi-apologizing for it, then I will 100% agree with you that it's utter bullshit.
This is one more thing where you're going to find yourself wrong in 2 months.
I'm not. It's not a right or wrong. I'm saying I am just giving him credit for this op-ed. And I'm prefacing it with, there's a caveat to this. I'm not suggesting that I think he's going to turn around and just be an anti-Trump senator. These guys, all of them, and quite frankly in both parties, okay, they are all about power and they're all about their agenda. Romney's not going to not vote for a Supreme Court justice if it comes up. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, he is like a Republican. He is of that ideology. Like
exactly.
I mean, I will take Rick's side just a little bit here. Like, and let me just put it to you this way:
you're both dead to me.
Yeah, fine. Hang up. I just do not.
Jeremy's just gotten too liberal being out in L.A. He needs to come back to Dallas with us.
Yeah, down in Texas. Like, this is real liberalism.
We're blue dog Democrats down here.
Look, I just think that what it is that there's this thing that happens in all of us rational people and the progressives in this country is that the wackiness that is Trump and this weird thing where the people like all around us, all these conservatives pretend as if like none of this is going on and he's like, you know, all the narratives, he's just this alternative politician and this is all liberal outrage and pretend like he's not an absolute insane nutcase. Like this isn't a joke, right? So anytime that we get a Mitt Romney or get anybody of substance to go out there and somewhat confirm everything that we're saying, like there's a lot more value in it. But at the end of the day, this will matter if he does something. Like, I understand a little bit that he needs political cover, but once that Mueller, not Mueller, Rick, but Mueller report comes out.
I did not say that on this show.
Okay, we did on former shows. It gets on my nerves. Okay, but once that report comes out and all the proof is there, then which I believe that that's the way that's going to fall. And if he's still one of them that somehow like uses the spin of the White House and calls it like a witch hunt or any of that bullshit, which we will see, then, or if he does not bring others over with him, then he's open for the same criticism. The platitudes publicly and then doing nothing about it when you're in a position of power means nothing.
Let me ask the question, and that's very well said. Jeremy, I love you. Question, Joe Walsh. You know who he is, right?
Yep.
Okay. Do you appreciate his Twitter rants against Trump?
Sure.
Do you think, honestly, that he's not going to vote for Trump in 2020? Because I bet he does.
Okay, so by the way, Joe Walsh is if anybody doesn't know, that's a former Tea Party Republican congressman who also now has a radio show. But the odd thing enough about him is that he is extreme anti-Trump on Twitter. He's extreme conservative, but he's anti-Trump on Twitter. Just a matter of context. Sorry, go ahead.
I thought we were talking about the guy from the Eagles. Anyway, no.
I thought we were talking about the guy who hosted America's Most Wanted.
I'm lost. I don't even know anymore.
I know who he is. I follow him on Twitter. I appreciate
he's
the
savage,
things he
dude.
says. I don't have any idea who he's going to vote for, and there's no way we could ever know that. I know some people like Eric Erickson say that here's everything that I hate about Trump, and here's why I'm also going to vote for him. So I certainly
Ben Shapiro does the same thing.
Yeah, I'm certainly accept the fact that those people do exist, but those people aren't elected officials, right? And those people aren't entrusted with the sanctity of protecting the United States. And those people don't have a responsibility to look at somebody who is unfit for the office and say they should not be there. And by the way, Joe Walsh absolutely 100% does that. And I think, if you cornered Eric Erickson about it, he would say that Trump shouldn't be there either, as long as he could get another Republican. And maybe Joe Walsh feels that way as well. But I don't know. I know a whole lot of people who didn't vote for Trump who are Republicans, and I think that there will probably be more of them in 2020.
And listen, that's a fair distinction to say that these people aren't in power. I will concede that point, and that's significant. And I don't want my inevitable but here to take away from that. However, Joe Walsh was obviously a congressman, and so that's significant. But they still all have. They may not have a subpoena power or whatever, or a vote on the floor for a bill or something to help empower Trump's agenda. They do have the power at the voting booth, and I'm just when I think about people like that, I'm like, cool. But are you going to vote if Joe Biden is the nominee or whoever, or Elizabeth Warren, whoever it may be? Are you going to vote for that person to help get this person out of office just for that reason alone? And that's I don't have an answer to that, but I appreciate the hell out of the attacks all the same. And
thank you for that segue, actually, because that was going to get into my next question.
Moving on. Rich wrong, Romney sucks, I win.
Okay. Ding. Yeah, I think I won since I kind of landed in the middle though. But okay, no more comment on that. Move on.
What was that contrived compromise? I'm in the middle.
By the way,
I'm
the least liberal person on this podcast, living in West Hollywood, California. I'm the least liberal person on this podcast.
That's absolute bullshit.
Oh my God. You are the most liberal person I've ever met in my life.
I love you, but Micah Babbitts, who I'm not actually going to do a one-on-one show with, so I'll give him a shout out. What's up, Micah? He is way more liberal than you, right?
Okay,
He's way more liberal than me, and that's cool. I'm down with that. Come on, man, you're more liberal than I am. Is that really a thing anyway? I mean, I'm really just kind of trolling you. I don't know.
I'm liberalist.
Okay,
you're the liberal. I will say this: you are. You could have. I mean,
the handsomest.
You have
the tallest.
God, you kind of are the tallest.
The best beard.
I have the best beard. Move on?
I was taller than Jeremy at one point. I swear to God, my back surgery just fucked that all up. But Jeremy,
anyway, back to politics.
But no, we're talking about politics. I'll just say this, but no, I think it's fair to bring this up. I'm a native of Dallas, Texas. I have lived elsewhere.
From Mesquite.
Okay, soliloquy with the whole family history.
No.
Just get to the point.
Hear me out. And so I'm a little bit of. I'm not as interesting as you guys. Michael comes from Oklahoma City, far more conservative than Dallas. That 3-hour drive, especially when you were born, dude, that's like a different world.
That's a red.
Right? So that dichotomy of your life is, far more, it's far more interesting than mine, I guess is the bottom line. But Jeremy, you're from West Texas. Is it West Texas, right?
Yeah, Amarillo. They call it West Texas. It's about as far north as you can go in Texas. But
yes, so you're in Amarillo where you actually get snow, correct?
Yep.
And then you live in Dallas for several years. This is where you and I meet.
Long time.
That's where we met. And then you moved to Los Angeles. So you are like this crazy hybrid. Do you take all that with you, you think, still to this day? You like part Amarillo, part Dallas, part Hollywood?
Well, I mean, growing up in Amarillo certainly informs my perspective on things, and it informs my ability to understand the perspective from people who also live in those sorts of areas. But ultimately, it just makes my perspective more well-rounded. People say all the time, oh, you're in a bubble and you're in a bubble. Well, everybody lives in a bubble. It just is a matter of how big do you choose to make your bubble and what do you allow inside. So I've just made really concerted efforts to expand the size of my bubble and get multiple perspectives, all of which sort of inform my own perspective.
It's very well said. And listen, nothing wrong with living in a bubble as long as you acknowledge that's where you're at and you can see outside of it. Okay, anyway.
As long as you voluntarily leave that bubble on occasion, force yourself out of it. I think that's
all right,
what the answer
that's right.
is.
Mr. Malloy, you were hosting this show, sir. I'm sorry. The floor is yours.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, we're going to cut out the last 10 minutes. All right.
Maybe 20.
Elizabeth Warren announces
Pocahontas!
POTUS.
Jesus.
Quoting in her video, which, did you watch her video, by the way?
Well, the one that she's drinking beer?
Oh, yeah. Okay, shut up. All right, here we go. She says, I never thought I'd run
Is it
for office,
firewater?
not in a million years. Warren said in the video, but when Republican senators tried to sabotage the reforms and run me out of town, I went back to Massachusetts and ran against one of them, and I beat him. In the video, she called our political system legally corrupt. Obviously, that is right out of right out of my toolbox. Everything I say about the system, we say about the system. Vows to take no super PAC money, by the way, and will only accept small donations. Rick, you posted a little something about old Elizabeth Warren. You were a little upset with her, maybe with Bernie. What's your problem with liberal lion Elizabeth Warren? Go.
Ted Kennedy, she is not, sir.
Oh,
so
God.
don't take his moniker there.
Also
no,
for
listen, no.
She took the mantle, but go ahead. What's your issue with Elizabeth Warren?
Well, first of all, to be fair and clear here, I'm getting sabotaged a little bit. It was on my personal Facebook page, and it was a simple tweet of she was running. I put if there was inflection and you could hear me, I say, "Oh God, just go away, take Bernie with you, please." It was really just that kind of simple. A shit show ensued. I ultimately deleted it because it wasn't. I was like, I don't have time for this. B, it's not what I'm trying to say here. I have a lot of respect for her.
Okay, but you would still, at the end of the day, you prefer that she didn't run, right?
Okay,
let's get to that point.
Here's the thing. It's not. I'll be honest with you. If she can prevent Bernie from running because their platforms are so similar, and is there room for him with her? I don't know. Then yeah, I'm more power to her. I'd much prefer her than him.
Well, I almost think like Bernie's not going to run because she ran, right? There had to be one of them. I'm
unapologetically a Bernie. I have issues with Bernie. I don't hate Bernie. And listen, when you and I, Michael, when he was campaigning in Dallas. The last presidential election during the primary, you and I went to see him, and it was very exciting. And I thought long and hard about supporting him over Hillary. I did. I ultimately didn't, but I did. I did think about it.
Okay, let's go to Bernie in a minute. We'll tie that in there.
But it's not.
With Elizabeth Warren, though?
Because it does for me. Because you asked me a direct question about her, and I'm trying to give you an answer, and I can't answer it without Bernie. Is that I have a lot of issues with him, and I won't get into that. It's time's sake. It's a whole separate podcast in itself. And perhaps I have somewhat unfairly aligned her with him. Maybe not. And so what I'm concerned about with that faction of our party, and none of us like to be even called Democrats. Hell, I think, Jeremy, you're not even registered as one, correct?
Correct.
In Texas, Michael and I have to be, otherwise we can't vote in the primary. That's the only reason I am.
Faction, but yeah, all right. So you have a problem with the progressive wing of the Democratic Party?
Well, no, I don't have a problem with that faction of the Democratic Party. That the progressive wing necessarily. I have a problem with I think some of the supporters of it, and I don't trust them. I have a hard time with what happened in 2016 when their guy didn't get the nomination, and I felt like that we just weren't supported in the right way, and I felt like that in a lot of ways we could say that they helped cost us the election.
Yeah, but you would have to agree, and you're talking about the Bernie Bros, but I mean you'd have to agree that
you said
some of that was also. I mean, it's a huge conversation, and it's a huge thing, but even Russian propaganda techniques played into that to sow those fissures within the party, and just because that they were victims, like many in the left were victims of the propaganda also, you can't, I don't know if we can look in the past and be that angry at them. I mean, what happened to them happened to you. Basically, we're all victims of this thing.
We have a lot of friends, especially you and I, because we don't all have mutual friends, obviously, that we're not going to vote for either one of them. And if it's Bernie or bust, I
think that's absolutely patently absurd.
It's not absurd.
Yes.
It's not
Donald
anecdotal
Trump
either.
was elected president, and the idea that Bernie was some sort of outsider, he at least was inspirational.
Well, that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm saying is there are a lot of people that did not vote for Hillary and they didn't necessarily vote for Trump. They voted third party, or they voted for Jill Stein or Gary Johnson or stayed home.
So why don't you like Elizabeth Warren again?
I have not. First of all, I didn't say I didn't like her.
I know it's been 14 minutes and you haven't answered the question.
I have aligned her with him in a lot of ways, and it's the same supporters, and it concerns me if one of them runs and they don't get it. What's going to happen? Are we going to break? And we're going to inadvertently allow this person to get reelected. Now, here's another problem. So that's why I kind of align the two of them. Malloy, Michael, you think that the way to win is to fire progressives around the country, and they come out in droves and they win. I'm not saying that that's not a strategy that we shouldn't embrace, and it's certainly something to talk about. But the country as a whole is not progressive. All these Midwestern swing states, they are left of center, okay? They're not, and I want to make sure that we have a nice balance of what we talk about policy agenda-wise and everything to win back states like the Wisconsins and the Pennsylvanias, et cetera. Because let's face it, Obama didn't run. If Obama was half the liberal that people claimed that they thought he was back in 2008 and when he was president, when he ran for re-election, there'd be some of us that probably liked him even more than we do now.
All right. Well, okay. All right. Fair enough. All right. Jeremy, go, and then I'll tear this thing apart. So, Jeremy, what's your opinion? Elizabeth Warren.
I like Elizabeth Warren a lot. I would happily vote for her as president. I haven't really decided who I'm going to vote for in the primary because I don't know who else is running. So far, it's really just Elizabeth Warren. But I think that, she's an excellent communicator. She does a great job of alerting people to why progressive policies are better even for people who traditionally don't even vote Democrat. Yes. I have some worries about her as a messenger for a variety of reasons, but I think that if she runs, it broadens the party a little bit. I don't see her as another Bernie Sanders. I think that the vast majority of her policy standpoints are in line with the Democratic policy platform.
Well,
and I don't think it's going to inspire the same sort of partisan.
So you like that she's a good communicator, you just said.
Yeah.
But then again, you don't think that she's a good messenger on the other side for Democratic policies.
I think that she can communicate the message. I just don't think people want to listen to it from her right now. If you listen to the way she articulates the message, you can listen to it and say, oh my God, that makes total sense. But I think that there are a whole lot of people who see her pop up on their TV screen and immediately tune out. And
they think that she's toxic.
Yeah, she's toxic is what I mean. Like
right. Who are these people?
Who are these people? Well,
yeah. I mean, you're saying that there's a whole lot of people. Yeah, there's a whole lot of people on the right who think every single liberal is a communist. But who are these people? Like, she has been for a really long time. Honestly, she has been the best. Like, one of the best elected politician that I have seen on the Senate floor. At least in my lifetime, the way that she goes after banks and corporations and all these people that are creating like all this income inequality, like she's like awesome. The only thing that maybe I could side with you is that at times it is very clear that she's very practiced on her talking points, but in action, if she runs for president, she's running for president, but if she gets up there and she's the nominee, like how many of ththose videos are going to be shared of like a decade of her going after every single big money person who's been fleecing Americans?
I think a lot, but what I would say is that for a lot of people who consider themselves centrist or middle of the road or whatever, like the independents that can go one way or the other, I think that she represents a lot of things that are like, if there were to be like a paradigm, like if you could mix up in a cocktail the perfect caricature of what conservatives think a liberal is, that would be Elizabeth Warren, right? And I think that there are a lot of middle of the road, even potentially, what was the word earlier, blue dog Democrats or centrists or independents who are going to be turned off by, this elitist Ivy League professor who plays identity politics and tells people what's best for them and has all these, there are a lot of people who are going to be turned off by that idea on top of the fact, and I know some people don't want to say it, but she is also a woman. And like, there are people, like I think the latest polls are like something like 40% of people are comfortable with a female president. I think that's horrible and that's sad, but it affects some of those people in the middle who aren't going to listen to her. Now, they should listen to her. I will certainly listen to her. As I said earlier, I would campaign for her, I will vote for her. But it adds to that caricature of this liberal elitist who is telling people how to live their lives.
And her little DNA stent thing didn't do herself any favors. Although the best thing about that, she at least got it out of the way. But that was shockingly embarrassing.
Fine. I mean,
right? But it's not fine. And I will move on from it. And
it suggests her instincts are horrible.
Yes, and that was so. Listen, to put out a slickly produced video to bring these results up to, I mean, let's just be frank here. I have more German in me than she does Native American. I don't give a shit about her Native American heritage, and I don't like the racist assholes that have run with this and call her Pocahontas. I find it atrocious.
Yeah.
That
you know what
I get all that.
You know what that video means, in an actual election, to any rational person who's not just a really hard Trump supporter.
People aren't rational.
It means absolutely nothing.
You're giving voters too much credit.
No, absolutely no, I'm not. They're just looking for something to believe in and something with a good enough message. But there is no way that like everyone's going to be all fired up and like of course the GOP. It's
not about everybody being fired. It's not about everybody being fired up. We're talking about 70,000 votes over 3 states that won this election for Trump, razor thin margins. It all matters.
You think that like those people aren't going to switch to Elizabeth Warren? You think like that? Like one problem with Hillary is just the charisma factor. I'm not saying that Elizabeth Warren is some Barack Obama, some extreme inspirational figure, but it is night and day between her and Hillary Clinton. She has a message that is very clearly her. She has a record that is absolutely amazing, and yes, they could get behind her. She has a blue-collar message.
You can say that all day long. We still have the first female nominee for president of the United States. She broke glass ceilings with that. She garnered 66 million votes, more votes than Barack Obama did in 2012. She dominated 2 out of her 3 debates, one of which she still won. I don't like this narrative like she was some shitty candidate, terrible, all that. It's nonsense. The math, everything about that election results do not prove it, except the fact that she lost in swing states.
Comey letter and Russian propaganda. Without those, she's president of the United States.
I wish that I thought that mattered more than it did to you.
Here's what you're thinking.
Hold on. Let me finish. We get into the Russian propaganda stuff, dude.
It is still a thing. It's like it's never not going to be a thing.
It's an hour show. Okay, my point is this. Can you interrupt me now? I'm off message here. Is the fact of the matter is that I'm just suggesting right now that I do not think that she is the answer to win back the Midwest, and we have to win back the Midwest. We have to fire up progressives. We absolutely do. We have to do that. We have to tap in and build our coalition with minorities, which is something that Bernie was not able to do in the primaries, which is why he lost. It's not because Donna Brazile emailed him a fucking debate question. All right. There are a lot of reasons why he lost, and that's one of them. And that's where I'm at right now with her, is that I think that she's a brilliant woman. I think she's done a lot of wonderful things for her state and for our country. I do admire her on many levels. I don't think that she's necessarily the answer. Do I not want her to run? Let her run. Okay. I am recognizing and reconciling some of my fears and putting her in this Bernie camp, which is why it was imperative and paramount for me to talk about my feelings about Bernie, because that's in essence what my issues are with her. And maybe I've unfairly aligned, but Jeremy brought up a lot of points. And to the woman thing, that is such it makes me want to throw up to say that. I have daughters. I have a 7-year-old daughter who asks me, why has there not been a girl president? To try to even answer that to her is maddening. It sucks.
It's a thing. Like
I'm a little concerned about this election about a woman nominee. Well, not because I don't think that they're worthy or that they shouldn't be. They absolutely should be. We should have had 20 by now. We have to get rid of this asshole.
Well, to that point, I think that there are definitely potential female contenders who can overcome that gap and that bias. I'm not sure that Elizabeth Warren is one of them.
Don't.
I agree with you 100%. And when I'm watching Kamala Harris, I agree. If Michelle Obama would run, Michelle Obama would be president of the United States. And
you know what it sounds like to me is that you're like all other liberals. I'm on the outside. But you want to fall in love. You think like we need another Barack Obama.
No,
we have
I
this great
don't.
inspirational figure. Like,
no,
no, I actually want
Michael,
a lot of things.
you were talking to a person that worked as a delegate in the primary. You and I argued in 2008 for a year about Hillary and Obama. I was not in Obama's camp. I recognized his charisma, and he was just wonderful and inspiring, and I still thought that's all fine and good. Hillary is still the person I want my president.
Right, which I'll bring up the point where I was right about Obama, and I was right about Hillary right before the election.
I don't fall victim to that. Just because Hillary lost the primary to Obama doesn't mean you were quote unquote right about her. It just means that more people may have agreed with you, but it didn't change or didn't dilute my opinion of her. I still think that she should have been president of the United States, quite frankly, both times. Now, listen, I love Obama. I love his presidency, and I'm so grateful that he was our president. So, I mean, maybe there's a contradiction there, but not really, because I had a win-win situation, essentially. That's all. That's really all it boils down to.
But at the end of the day, I think that you're caught up in this same box that it seems like it's plagued the Democratic Party. It continues on since Bill Clinton, because he kind of like moved himself towards the middle, thinking like, okay, the way to win elections is to move yourself to the middle.
I'm not saying
did
that.
you not pay any attention to what just happened there in the midterm? Almost nobody moved to the middle. Everybody ran as a progressive, because the problem is you're never going to get these Republicans to vote for you. Just because you have your anecdotal 2 or 3 of them that actually like switch over, you have to inspire people. You have to get people off their couch to stand in line in the rain. And unless, I'm not saying you have to be like carry a red flag around like and you're like extreme socialist. A true progressive politics, economic policy is a huge winner if somebody can communicate it to the masses.
Let's look at Texas for a brief moment as an analogy here, okay? You had Wendy Davis, who had her historic filibuster against abortion, or for abortion, I guess I should say properly, and was catapulted into national stardom, ran for governor of Texas. You and I were at the Texas Tribune Festival. Actually, no, we weren't. You weren't there with me. Never mind. Sorry. Scratch that. I was there. And I directly asked her a question at a town hall about if she was elected governor, would she expand, would she embrace Obamacare and expand healthcare for everybody? And she waffled. And I remember sitting down going, why would she not have embraced that? And suddenly...
not very inspirational.
See, not at all. Suddenly, throughout the campaign, she starts talking about her opinions of the Second Amendment were a little toxic absolutism that was feeding right into kind of NRA bullshit. I'm like, she's not going to get elected doing this. So that's that extreme where she's trying to come to the quote center, and she is not being who she is, and she didn't inspire. And then you look at Beto, who he almost won Texas. Now you can say 200,000 votes, but that's like less than 2%. It was amazing. He flipped counties here in Dallas. He flipped Tarrant County, dude. Tarrant County. Go to Tarrant County. It's nothing but Whataburgers. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, and he really didn't have this. I don't say crazy because I don't think it's crazy, but he didn't have this like far left progressive agenda. He was a perfect sort of representation. I'm not saying it's him per se, because it may or may not be.
So it sounds like you're making my point for me. Is that what's happening here?
No, I'm saying that you think that people are more progressive in this country than they are, and I think people are a little bit more left of center than they are.
No, left of center and progressive. I think that the problem is the lack of inspiration. When people actually hear real progressive values and progressive policy, they will get off the couch and they'll show up. It's that we cannot keep trying to say, oh, the best thing to do is seeing if we can get some of those, like some of the Republicans to switch over from their camp.
I'm not saying that. I'm talking about the people that are in key swing states, because we're stuck with this fucked up, archaic system where we're letting states and their points win an election as opposed to the power of the people.
Voters are just looking for anybody.
We're talking about We're talking about the people that supported Obama twice and
they moved
voted
from Bernie over to Trump. You think that they are somehow like extreme
I'm talking
ideologues?
about the people that voted for Obama twice that helped Trump flip key swing states. He won Pennsylvania and Wisconsin.
Bernie primary voters voted for Trump in the general election. You think that somehow that it was because of the progressive policies of Hillary Clinton?
Bottom line is this, Jeremy, who do you want to see be the nominee? I mean, I know we need to hear that.
It's way too early.
No, hold on. Let me clarify. Right now, just who excites you? I understand we want to hear everybody, and yes, on the record, I'm glad Elizabeth Warren is running. I really am. Let's hear what she has to say. Let's bring her in the fold. Okay? 100%. My Facebook post on my personal page was, "Oh God, just go away, take Bernie with you." It was a throwaway statement. It wasn't a mission statement. It wasn't a war cry, right? That's why I deleted it. But anyway,
go Jeremy. All right,
so Jeremy, what do you think? Just final, who right now? What do you think? Maybe that's not just a person per se, or necessarily, but what kind of candidate do we need to run against Trump?
As long as it's a communicator, I don't care. But I don't have I don't have an ideal right now in my head. I think that if I could pick an ideal ticket, it would probably be Jennifer Granholm and Beto O'Rourke. I'm not sure that Jennifer Granholm can run. There's something about she was born in Canada. Yeah, she was born in Canada, but it has something to do with an army base, same way that John McCain. I don't know all the details, but I think if Beto O'Rourke is on I don't think Beto O'Rourke should be president, but if he's the nominee, I will certainly vote for him. But I think if he's on the ticket as vice president, I think it's certainly possible that Texas could be in play for a variety of reasons that, there's a lot of math there. I don't really need to go into it, but Hillary lost Texas by less than 800,000 votes. That means 450,000 votes swings Texas. And if you think about all the people who just don't vote because they think their vote doesn't count in Texas, it's certainly a possibility.
But they're going to believe their vote counts this next time around because it was so close.
Possibly,
but people don't vote for a vice president, though, Jeremy.
No. They 100% do. If you pick as long as it's not fucking Tim Kaine. But I think that
I don't know.
I think that
we got Connecticut.
I think if Elizabeth Warren and Beto O'Rourke were on a ticket, I would be super ecstatic. To be honest with you, if Kirsten Gillibrand or Amy Klobuchar and Beto O'Rourke were on a ticket. I'm not super excited about Kamala Harris for reasons I've spoken to you both about, but I would happily vote for Kamala Harris. Like right now, all I want is a cohesive ticket. I want everybody in the primary to communicate their ideas and talk about unity. That's what I want.
Here's my big thing right now. So anyone listening to us and what I was saying to you all before is at the end of the day, obviously this is way early, but Dan Pfeiffer talked about this on Pod Save America, and he brought up the point is that what we do not need to be doing right now is figuring out who we are against. Yep. If you like a candidate, be for that candidate and push for them, and then also be willing to ask critical questions of that candidate and on their positions. But right now, absolutely not. We don't need to say, even Bernie throws his name in there, we don't need to say we're anti-Bernie. I mean, I'm happy for whoever. I want the process to play out, and I want a good progressive in there. But let's stop being against somebody and find a candidate that you support. And obviously, we're 2 years away, and it's just her. And is Castro officially in right now?
I don't know if he set up his exploratory committee or not yet, but I think it's pretty exciting as a Texan that if he does run, who I personally admire immensely, that we could have two formidable potential candidates from Texas that are on the Democratic ticket. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, well, All right, well, that was anything else to wrap up on there? We're going a little bit long. We're a little bit over an hour. Any final thoughts on anything we discussed tonight?
Let me just get everybody's gut reaction to a couple of key people. May I just, I'm going to say their names. Give me 1 or 2, 3 words. Ready? Joe Biden, Jeremy.
I'd happily vote for him.
Well, we would happily vote for any of these candidates, obviously, but is he someone that you want to see?
Not really. He's old. He'll be 79 when he takes office. Screw that.
Okay. Jeremy, Joe Biden.
Yeah, no, I love Joe, and I want him in there. But I do fear too many candidates that I love, and that turn into some sort of a bloody battle. I mean, maybe my dream ticket would be as today would be Biden for president, and then Elizabeth Warren would go as VP. But I mean, we'll see how it all hashes out.
And Kamala Harris, another one of you.
Yeah, next time we'll talk about Kamala Harris and why I'm not a fan. But
okay,
no,
fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay,
cool. Anything else, or are we all done here?
Well, I know, I'm going to say this real fast. Jeremy has some exciting things to talk about our podcast. Do you not, Jeremy?
Yeah, I'm working on a collaborative effort with another podcast called Turn Left Here. If you're a regular listener to our show, you might remember back during the 2018 election, Michael and I had a guest on named Kelly Dunaway, who was a candidate for the U.S. Congress out of Missouri. She started a podcast. If you can go find it, it's on iTunes or Stitcher, I believe. It's a lot of different places, called Turn Left Here. Give that a listen. But she and I are working on a collaborative effort to release on both platforms that is completely policy driven. So instead of just three white dudes yelling at each other for an hour, you're going to hear,
it's actually really entertaining.
You're going to hear more in-depth discussions about policy and actual issues and what efforts can be made and what the strategy is for getting those efforts passed. We're going to start hopefully something out here in the next couple of weeks. And we're going to start with potential election reform. So that should be a lot of fun.
All right. Well, I guess we will look forward to that.
And I would just encourage everyone to go back. This is episode 22 of our podcast. Listen to our shows. Some obviously were time sensitive and may not be interesting, but like the last show, it was just myself and Rachel Ramey, who's an educator down in Houston, and she's a Michelle Obama admirer. And her and I bought her new book, Becoming, and we read that and did a show on it. So please check that out.
All right, so hope you guys enjoy us on Facebook. Find us on Facebook if you're not already there. We're also on Twitter, Left Shew Politics. Left Shew Politic, singular, on Twitter. We're on Stitcher. If you're listening to this podcast anywhere, please remember to rate it. That's how others find it. And I guess we'll just catch you next time around. We're recording again soon. So for Jeremy Gruhlkey, Rick Shew, I'm Michael Malloy, and this is the Left Shew Politics Podcast. Announcer Rachel, take us out, please.
Thanks for listening to this episode of our Left Shew Politics Podcast. You can find us on Twitter at Left Shew Politic. Follow the Facebook page at facebook.com/Left Shew Politics and the LSP website, leftshewpolitics.com. Search for our channel on YouTube, Stitcher, and Google Play.